Master Bruce, you live on an island, figuratively and literally.
Yeah, I love it.
You can't spend the rest of your life alone, dressed in black, listening to angry music and staying up all night.
Yes, I can, because I'm Batman.
But don't you think it's time you finally faced your greatest fear?
I need to be honest and clear.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Batman is a tragic character that was left alone at a young age due to the death of his parents. He would then swear a personal vendetta against crime and would eventually don the cape and cowl to prevent anyone else from experiencing the horrific events that he had went through. He struck fear into criminals and took advantage of a childhood fear that he once had, that being bats. Well, we all know this already. On the outside, Batman can seem like an emotionless, almost brick wall of a person that feels nothing on the inside. Someone who lacks a personality and feels nothing at all. But he's much more complicated than this. Like everyone, he has his own personal fears. And the question that seems to be up for debate is, what is Batman's greatest fear? A character like him would seem to fear nothing, that he is fear itself. But even Batman has his own personal demons. Now, this topic is entirely opinionated, and I'm sure most people have their respected answers. The Lego Batman movie brings this question as its main focus of the film, and presents what, in my opinion, is the Caped Crusader's greatest fear. Being a part of a family again, and being left alone for the rest of his life. I think the idea of Batman having a bat family or even a sidekick can be seen as a character flaw. Like I mentioned previously, Batman's war on crime is a personal matter. He does it for his own reasons. To bring in someone else or others in general, I feel personally defeats that purpose. I'm not saying I dislike characters like Robin or don't like the Bat family, but the overall idea of him having a sidekick or to work with others shouldn't work with his character, the roots of it anyway. This is where the Lego Batman movie comes into play. This Batman has always been alone and lacking other people in his life. He hasn't been able to cope with the death of his parents and for that reason has blocked himself off from the outside world of Gotham City. He has the entirety of Wayne Manor and the Batcave to himself, but no one to fill them with. The two locations feel like a void to Batman that he's just floating in. The film even pokes fun at this at the start about how just massive Wayne Manor is.
But I've heard that some stores will honor them past the expiry date.
Copy that.
Also, Alfred is on the 17th floor, grouting tiles in the second bathroom of the 5th master bedroom.
He eventually became consumed by the idea of being Batman and ridding Gotham City of criminals. It would eventually become the only thing that he cared about. The duality of Batman and Bruce Wayne would vanish. Most scenes in the film where he isn't patrolling Gotham as Batman, he's still wearing his cowl. He becomes attached to the identity of being Batman. It isn't until Alfred notices this that he brings it to his attention. Alfred can't stand the lifestyle Bruce has adapted to, but Bruce has become selfish and shuns his emotions, even from Alfred, the closest he's been to anyone since the loss of his parents. He was the only figure during Bruce's childhood after the death of his parents, but Bruce never bothered to see into that. The reason Batman has become a parent to living this way is because of his parents' death and not being able to cope with it. He won't let himself bring others into his life out of fear of losing them again. The film shows this with both emotional and comedic moments, especially with Batman and Robin, which becomes the skeleton for the second and third acts. The film choosing Dick Grayson to be Robin was the perfect choice, as Robin also had his parents taken from him at a young age. This Robin is everything Batman turns a blind eye to, everything he doesn't believe. Robin allows other people into his life despite losing his family. Dick didn't have anyone at all after his parents died, as Bruce had Alfred, but still wanted to give the second chance of being noticed by another to be accepted into a family again after losing his. Alfred believes he deserves someone to take him under their wing, as Alfred took Bruce under his. Putting Batman and Robin together works so well here. It's like night and day clashing with each other. Batman lacking any sort of emotions or showing any emotions at all, while Robin here cranks the knob to 11. From the very start, Dick seems as a cheerful kid who just wants to be noticed and accepted by the people around him. How Dick acts and seems to cope with his parents' death is what Bruce should have done from the start.
My two dads are the same dad. But they're both leaving.
It's gonna be okay, kid. Sometimes losing people is part of life. But that doesn't mean you stop letting them in. Some very wise people taught me that. My father figure. My platonic co-worker buddy. Who's a girl, but just a friend.
The Joker in this film is interesting to say the least. He is obsessed with the idea that he and Batman are destined to fight each other forever. He believes that he is his greatest enemy, that without Joker, there is no Batman, and vice versa. The chemistry between the Joker and Batman can almost be seen as romantic from a certain standpoint. It's an obsessive yet toxic relationship. Batman's refusal to agree with how the Joker feels brings him to the Phantom Zone, to unleash the worst possible villains onto Gotham City to prove that he is, in fact, Batman's greatest foe. But to backtrack a little bit, Joker gets himself sent to Arkham Asylum along with the rest of Gotham's rogues. Crime in Gotham City soon disappears. With this in mind, Batman loses his purpose. With Bruce Wayne only ever being Batman, once Batman is left with nothing, so is Bruce Wayne. Back to the Phantom Zone. Joker knows that Batman can't save the city alone, it would have to let others in to help. He thought this would be the moment he finally makes a change, but of course, he doesn't. This then leads to a very important moment in the film. Joker telling Batman that he himself is his own greatest enemy, and not the Joker. Batman's biggest flaws are personal, they are all mentally self-driven. Not letting others into his life, or fearing failure and letting his parents down. These are all defining character traits, and these things have always been present in his character. They're fears he's never been able to conquer and move past. These fears have haunted him ever since he became Batman, ones that seem never ending. I mentioned previously that Batman having a bat family, or even a sidekick at all, can be seen as a character flaw. Going back to this, I personally think that when Batman is without any sidekicks, is when he's at his best. The majority of his silver screen adaptations, comic book stories like Year One or The Killing Joke, all lack any sort of Robin or Bat family characters. Prefer Batman working alone because it just makes his personal reasons for doing what he does that much more impactful. Despite Batman being selfish and unfair in the film, I can't entirely blame him for acting the way he does. It makes complete sense for him to act this way. It just further adds to the tragic aspect of his character. Not being able to hold relationships with anyone, leaving him on his own, it's become a staple of his life. With this all being said, this is personally my definitive version of Batman, one that works alone. As much as I enjoy characters like Robin or Batgirl or other Bat family members, this just makes the most sense to me. I've come to appreciate this film so much just because of the way the film handles Batman just overall. When I first saw this film in theaters, I just saw Batman as this grouchy bum who just needed to lighten up. I never realized how deep the film dug into the idea of being alone and lacking people in your life, and the effects it can have on someone. Now, claiming this as Batman's greatest fear can be tossed in the air, as he's seen to have a handful of them, but most relate back to his parents. The fear of failing his parents can coexist with the fear of being alone. Losing himself to killing the criminals he faces can also relate to this, as he wouldn't be any different or better than the man who killed his parents. Fear of being looked down upon by his parents. Do you see the pattern here? Some of his best known fears can all connect with each other and one branching off the other, making almost a tree of them. They can all stem from one, and what that biggest one is up for interpretation and opinion, and of course, this is mine. The Lego Batman movie has become one of my favorite Batman films ever, maybe even my favorite one of all time. Taking this idea and bringing it center stage, as it's proved to be a very important aspect of Batman's character. The loss of his parents is what birthed the cape and cowl, and it has had an everlasting effect on him. This idea of fearing loss of someone in your life has been seen before in Batman's past. Things like losing Jason Todd in Death in the Family, or Ethan Bennett becoming Clayface in the Batman 2004 show. The Lego Batman movie tackles this in such a unique way by embracing its humor, having its homage to the Batman mythos, and not limiting its character use at all. I feel that overall, the Lego Batman movie is a hidden gem in the sea of Batman films that have been released over the years. I always have a blast coming back to this film each and every time. It takes a very emotional matter in Batman's character and handles it in the form of a kid's movie. It sounds crazy, but it works so well here. I think this film deserves more attention and credit than it gets, for Batman and non-Batman fans. Loss is something we all go through at some point in our lives, but what matters most is what you do with that and how we move forward.